First, we are going to see how to integrate data from a file. Second, we are going to elaborate a model. So we are going to see dimension tables, fact table, and we'll see how to create a calendar. Third, we are going to create some measures, DAX calculations, and finally, we'll get into the visuals to make our charts, metrics, etc. I have Power BI installed on my computer. If you don't have it, go on and download it from Microsoft website. You choose the language and also if you can, you want 64 version. At this stage, you don't need any license. Data that we are using here is in Excel files. It's coming from BP Stats. It's oil and gas and energy production and consumption, and also oil and gas reserves for different countries in different years. We have also department study date. We see that for countries we have their codes, so we need the dimension table for countries. Basically, it links country with code and their characteristics. To get data from those Excel workbooks, we can use get data, Excel workbook, raw data that I have in this folder, BP stats. You choose this is the sheet name, and I prefer to go transform data and not load it immediately. Here we see different steps that are applied automatically. Source, it gets the Excel workbook, then it navigates to the sheet that we want, and then it recognizes the headers, and then it promotes them, and then it also changes the types for different columns. Sometimes we don't want that. If we don't want to this, we can just delete this step or go to the advanced editor. Here's the M code. So if I don't want part of it, I just need to delete, for example, this line. For now, I want all. I keep those steps. Here we change the name because it's a fact table. I'm going to just put the preference fact at the beginning and then BP stats. Once done, we can close and apply. We're loading the data and now we have the table here. We can go this part and we see all the data that is loaded. Now that we have the first table, we are going to integrate the second table in the same way. So it's our dimension table. I use this sheet. I transform data. We see the same steps: source, navigation, promoted headers, change type. I want to keep all of these steps. I just want to add here them. We are all good. Close and apply. Now we have two tables. Here we can see them. And in this part, we see the modeling. We already see that it automatically Power BI detects the relationship. So because we have the same name of the columns, both sides, and also that we have one here to many, means that this column here doesn't have repetition, and here it repeats. It's very important to see this one-to-many relationships. Here we are going to stay with star schema. Star schema is the model that we often use in Power BI. It is when we have one big table and several dimensions that are connected to it. We have also Snowflake that we will probably see in the future with the coming videos. If you see that this relationship, sometimes when your model is complicated, the relationships that Power BI detects is totally wrong. So you need to either delete them or modify them. You just need to come here, right click properties. I see that I have a one-to-many relationship. I want to have the filter direction is single. This relationship is active. We will talk about passive relationships in the future videos. And here I see that all is good, so I keep this relationship. In our modelings, we often need calendar. If we have a look in our main table, we see two columns above dates. We have department study date and year. Year here, we can use it without using calendar. We can treat this as just a filter on a number. It can be any year chosen on the filter. But for this date, it's better to use a calendar. How we are going to create calendar? You don't want to show like this probably. You can change here your type to short date. And also it's a French version here. We are now going to create a calendar. So how we are going to do it? Sometimes we can also integrate a calendar into our model, especially when you are in big companies. You have special calendars designed in your database that you want to use them to be in harmony with other departments or other reports. Here we want to create a calendar with DAX functions according to our tables and data that we have. What we want in our calendar is that it covers all the dates that we see in this column. To do that, we are going to use DAX functions. Different possibilities about creating new table or new column or new measure. What we are going to do here is to create new table. I click here. What I want to call my table is calendar. And what I want to do is to create a calendar, as I said, to cover all the dates. For that, I want to use var. Well, var is just, we want to here to define a variable that we are going to use in our DAX function. How we use variables in Power BI. To do that, we are going to declare a var, which is max state. So I want to find max state in my main table. Max state is equal to max. This is a DAX function to the max of my fact table. It's going to suggest me as soon as I type F and then baby, it's going to suggest me all the columns. I want this date column. I want to calculate max of this date for my calendar table. And then I'm going to define another var. When I want to go to the second line, I just hit Alt Enter. If you hit Enter, it's gonna get out of this editing part of the function. My second var is min date. This is the name of my variable. So it's the same where I want the minimum of the same table. I can copy and paste it here. And then I'm going to just say return This is the way variable works. I define my variables and then I use return key to return the function that I'm going to define here. What I want is a calendar. Calendar is a DAX function. The calendar function, it tells me what this function needs. This function needs start date and end date. My start date is gonna be mean. It's gonna propose here. When you see here xy, it means that it's a variable, and you can only use variable inside this function. We don't use variables outside of the function that we define them. So I'm going to use them. And by the way, if you see fx next to it, it is just the functions of the DAX. So I'm going to choose this by double clicking on it, and then end date is gonna be my max date, and that's all we need for now. Later on we are going to probably elaborate this calendar by adding different columns here, or even with the new columns with calculated columns. For now I am done, so hit enter. It's gonna generate you a calendar with the dates that are available from the minimum to the maximum in your fact table. Okay, that's great. Now we can go and connect this date to our main table. So if I decrease a bit size here, this date actually I want to be connected to this table. Again, we have a one-to-many relationship. We are going to save our files. I'm going to save this file here as paper report and save it. Now that we have our model, we are going to see visuals. The first thing that we want to see is the oil production per region or continent for different years. For this, we are going to use a matrix. I have my matrix. I just clicked here, so I have it. Now I want to get the region here, the region, which is the continents, in rows. And then I want for different years the oil production. I want years in columns. I can basically bring the oil production here in values and the numbers are going to be correct. But if I want to do it properly, because probably later on we are going to use this number in another calculations or like percentage calculations or other reasons, I'm not going to use like this. I'm going to create a measure. To create a measure, we only need to right click a table and new measure. So when you click here, you have this editing part appears here and you write down your measure. I'm going to skip this. I don't want to actually create measure in a table because later on it's not very easy to find your measures in different tables. Probably you have a colleague who's going to have a look in your report and want to see the measures. So it's better to put all the measures in one place. For that, we can create a table that has no columns except measures. Before going to do that, notice how the calculated tables have a little image which is different from the others. It's like a little calculator next to them. And also in the columns, when you have a column which is number, you see the sigma sign. We're gonna see what this little image will be for the measures. Let's go and make the measure table. And as I said, this is really an option. It is only to have the report well organized. Okay, let's do it. We have already seen how to create new table here with calendar. This time we are going to use another method. We are going to use enter data. So basically we use this for table that is with really limited data. You can just write down here data that you need. This is mostly for parameter tables, but here we are going to just change the name measure table and the column name also measures, and that's all we need here. Now that we have our measure table, we can create our measures inside this table by simply right click new measure, and then I'm gonna call this measure oil production, and it's gonna be a simple sum of oil production kilo barrels per day. I hit tab key and then I'm good. I want this with thousands separator. I don't want any decimals. And notice here we have the column name appearing here, but I don't need this column. So I can hide this from this view that we see here, which is the report view. And now I can bring this measure in my values. So I can drag and drop here or drag and drop in this part. Let's say I don't want this for all of the years since 1965. I only want last 15 years. In that case, what we can do is to come to filter pane, and here years I want to have simply top n. I want 15. It needs to be based on years. So here, because the years number, I'm going to add years here and apply filter. So I have it for last 15 years. If you don't want your client to see this or to lock this, you can choose any of little signs to apply that. Let's say that I don't want this blue grid, but I want other color or even other design. You can come here to the designing part. You have the general style. You can choose different styles. Default is alright for me. You can have other styles that you like. The grid here is blue. I'm gonna change it to darker blue, and I guess for now that's what I want. So we are all good. I'm just gonna bring it here. I also want to have a border around this. I'm gonna turn on the border. I'm going to have a color like blue, and also you can choose more options here. Color code, you can put your color code here. For now, that's all I need here. Let's continue. Okay, now let's add some color scale on our matrix, meaning that we want to see the largest numbers with different colors. How we do it, we select the matrix and we can either go here and then go to the conditional formatting on oil production, or simply we come here, oil production, conditional formatting. I want background color. We can choose with the color scale. We have also rules. We're gonna see in our next videos based on our measures. We can format by rules, but for now we're gonna just stay with color scales, and I'm gonna choose from gray to somewhere around this and see what's gonna look like. Okay, I see that Middle East with the highest amount of production, and for the rest the color scale is according to their production. Okay, let's continue to add some more charts. Imagine we want last year's production for each region. It means that if I want like donut chart here, I don't want to show the production for each year, but only for the last year. There are many ways to do that. One of them is to directly put the filter inside the measure. So if my measure is last year oil production, I can use calculate. Calculate is a DAX function, and one of the places that we use it is to introduce filter inside a measure. Here we are going to do that. I want the same calculation of oil production, so I want oil production, but I want filter this table, my fact table. So as you see, calculate at first wanted an expression. So my expression, I want oil production. In the second argument, I want to calculate this oil production, but I want to filter the table, but which table is a fact table. It's our main table. For filter expression, I want to filter on the year column. The year column on this table, I hit the tab key. I want it to be the max of the year column. I don't want to put 2020 here. I think the last year in our fact table is 2020. I don't want to put that because if I refresh my data and my data is updated, I want to always retrieve the last year. So I will use max function. I want the max of this column, and we are done. So basically what this function is doing, this function is calculating oil production, but it's filtering on our main table only for the years that it finds as the max year. I hit enter. Now if I bring my region here as the legend, and I bring the last year oil production as values, I see that I have only last year's production. For example, for Middle East, we have 27K approximately, the same number here. I probably want to change the title. You can come here. I want to say last year oil production per region. I want to put alignments in center. I probably want to change this to some bold with the color a bit different, and we can go to the details. I want data values and percentage. That's good. I want color darker, and I want to change probably the units to none, which is not great. I'm going to change to 1000, which is what I want. And also I should not forget to make this like, if I use it in another place, I want it to be thousands separated with 0 decimals. Okay, this is our second chart, and probably I'm going to the legends are too big. I want to already make them darker, smaller, and I don't want title. And also if we want, we can change the colors here, but for now all looks good to me. Okay, we save the document. We can add also border. I want the same border color here. I come here, I take this code, I bring it here, I paste the same code here, and I have the same color. Let's say I want to see last year's production, the total of the last year's production in a chart that is visible much more clearly. For that, we are going to use a card. So if I put a card here, I'm going to put this card right here, and I'm going to just, the measure that we have is going to work well for this card. This is the production for my last year. Let's change the name to last year production. And what I want to do also is probably to change this color to dark blue with some other font and probably a bit smaller. This is good. And category, I want this lighter blue and probably a bit smaller. That is good to me. Alright, another chart that we are going to do is to see oil production per year for different regions. What we want is stacked area chart. I want oil production through the years. We see that the oil production from 1970 to 2020. Now with the region, I add also the region in legends, and we put legend elsewhere, probably left or right, and we don't want title, and also we want darker, we want smaller size. Also, we don't want this in y-axis, we don't want title. And for title, I'm going to just change oil production by year and region. That's good. I'm going to put dark blue center with another font. Okay. Alright, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We are going to continue on this data next video with a bit more advanced calculations like comparison of any two selected time periods. We are going to also see details page and much more. Stay tuned. Thank you very much. Until next video, take care. See you soon.